So welcome to a new Game Stuff episode, and I want to say this to begin with. It's always funny because a lot of this stuff is ordered all over the place. Some of it's a year ago, some of it's 6 months ago, 2 months ago, and I'm sitting around at times and I'm going, oh, I guess there's no new Game Stuff episode, for this month or next month or anything like that. It's nothing. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of things show up and I'm like, wow, it's Christmas, it's fun. And so there's a lot of stuff I want to get through today, a lot of video games, and some really special items as well that are really fascinating. So hold on for those. And near the end, some other interesting items in the way of anime stuff. So let's start at the beginning with a certain game here, limited run. And here we go, Panzer Paladin, right here. Has anybody played this game? I downloaded the game, I paid full price for it, and I fell in love with it. It was a return to the NES days, the 16-bit days, and then beyond that, because the music was so fantastic. And so I started playing this game, and I'm like, all I kept thinking was, physical copy. And they announced a physical copy. I jumped right on there. I had to order it, and I'm so happy it showed up. And here's a funny thing I'll tell you about Panzer Paladin and its soundtrack is you see in the thumbnails, it's always me doing this, and there's a white outline around me or something like that. So here's a little story. Whenever I do the screenshot for the thumbnail, and I'm editing it together, and I'm drawing the white outline around myself, I'm always listening to Panzer Paladin's soundtrack. It's that good. I love it. It's so absolutely excellent. And I sit there and I get really pumped up, and it makes me get through that line work real quick. It's only a few minutes long to do it, but Panzer Paladin always helps me to do it. I love the mech action. I love how you can jump out of your mech and run around. Very Blaster Master. And this was a big surprise game a couple of years, it was about a year ago now, but love it. I'm so happy. Physical copy. Now, another game that I had to pick up, and me and Kim reviewed this game, and that is Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne Remaster here. So, the thing I want to say is, I stand behind my reviews. If I sent a review code, and I review the game, and I like it, I always buy the physical copy, because I back it up. I like that game. And me and Kim really like this game. Now, the funny thing is, there's some reviews out there that people really don't like the game. And it is a game. It's a remaster from 17 years ago, a different time in video gaming. And I think you have to go in expecting that. I even explained that to Kim before she started playing it. I said, this is an older style of game. But realistically, what the meat and potatoes is, as I said, it's the combat. It's the recruitment of demons. That's what it's all about. Fusing them together. That's where the fun is. The world it's a post-apocalyptic world. You're running around it. It feels very barren. And I get that. But there's no shortage of things to do. And so I really like this. And something else I'm going to say about this, and not that it matters, but for some people who are interested, I think this might be a rare game to find on the Nintendo Switch in time. The Shin Megami Tensei series and Persona series always become cult classic games. I think this will become a cult classic game in time, and I think it's really great for people to discover the game again on the Switch, so definitely check it out. Oh my god, yes, here we go. Another Shantae game. The Game Boy game on the Nintendo Switch. I had to get it. I've had a bit of an obsession with Shantae since I started playing it, and I picked up all of the games now, from Limited Run and from just in regular editions. And then guess what they announced? They announced there's going to be a Shantae collection. And I'm like, I wish I knew that to begin with. I would have held off for that release instead of having all these single games and all that. So they're releasing one, collected version of Shantae, all of the games together on like PS5 and stuff like that. And I'm like, God damn it. So am I interested? Yeah, I love Shantae. I mean, it gives me that Wonder Boy feeling every time I play it. And here's another one, Siren the Wanderer, right here. And this is the Tower of Fortune and the Dice of Fate. I pre-ordered this, I had to pick this up. The question is why? I've never played this game, ever. Why would I want it? Why would I be interested in it? My story goes back a little bit. It goes back to this collection the Retro Game Master Game Center CX collection right here with the Chief. Now, have any of you seen this show from Japan? It is awesome. It is so great, where the Chief plays video games. He sits down and plays a game he's never played, and the entire episode is him trying to beat the game in that sitting or another sitting, and he's given a time limit to do it. And oh my God, the trials and tribulations, and it's the way it's recorded and the way it's done. And we can't show any of the footage of this because it's really copyrighted. It's very hard to even find episodes of this online in a lot of places. But I saw him playing it right here. Oh, where's it? I think it's on the back of this right here. Yeah, Siren the Wanderer right here. It's not, me and Kim watched him play it, and it's a roguelike game with like turn-based combat. And he keeps getting to a place and keeps dying, keeps getting to a place and dying. And it was just compelling watching. And I was like, every video gamer can feel that feeling, right? Especially watching somebody else play a game and you're like, oh no. And they have to start again, and they start right from the beginning, and it was awesome. So that's why I had to pick up the game for myself, almost because of him. I'm watching him have that experience there. And so, yeah, there's a bunch of these games, and I'm interested because, thank you, the Chief, for sure. Now, here is an interesting one, and this is from Pixel Heart, and it's called Tanooki Justice. And I was interested in this game because, I don't know if you remember a game from a long time ago, an arcade game called Ninja-kun. I really like that. This game gives me that kind of feeling where you play as Tanooki ninjas, and it's kind of an 8-bit style of graphics, but I thought there was something very charming about it, and I thought it was really kind of cool. Did it review super high? It did okay. But I think that I really enjoy the artwork of the game, especially the artwork here, and the game itself, and I was really interested in getting this game. So, alright, so I have to summon the Wonder Boy God here, and here we go. I had to get these games. I was very, very interested in them, and it is Wonder Boy Asha in Monster World 4. And you'll be saying, John, why? I thought you didn't love the game. I don't hate the game at all. I definitely don't hate the game. It wasn't the Wonder Boy experience I wanted it to be, because I thought the bar had been raised over the years. But I think this is an okay, pretty good, average RPG, action RPG. I just wanted them to spend a little more time on the graphics, but what's there is not offensive, and it's really cool because you also get the original Wonder Boy Monster World included in here, so you can play that, especially on the Switch, which I think is really cool. Why did I get them? For the collection. I have a big Wonder Boy collection. I had to get this, and I do love the original Monster World. I think it is such a cool series, and I'm happy to have it, and I'm not angry about the game or anything like that. I just wish they spent a little bit more time on it. It looked like an indie game, which is not a bad thing. And some Fatal Fury love here. I'm going to do two things at once. Fatal Fury Battle Archives 2, right here. It's the Real Bout series. Do you know, what's fascinating to me is I played the original Fatal Fury series, and when Real Bout came out, I mean, I couldn't track it down anywhere. Like, in our arcades, there may have been one machine that had these on there, and I saw it, and I was like, oh my God, like, look how far they've come with the Fatal Fury series. And I thought it was a gorgeous looking thing. And so something else showed up. This showed up, I hate to say this, months ago. And it was sitting in a corner, and I never got a chance to show it, even though I had listened to it. And that is Fatal Fury, the vinyl soundtrack, right here. And this is, I've got a little bit to say about this. Like, look at this, first of all. Isn't that artwork just gorgeous? Oh, the vinyl. Now, it's a really weird thing to do, to buy a vinyl soundtrack of an old arcade game. It's weird. It's weird. It's a weird experience, and this is what I wanted to talk about. When I put this in, I sat on the couch, I had like a cup of tea, and I'm like, here we go. Fatal Fury. Like, the first time I saw it in the Neo Geo cab, it was extraordinary. And I put on the vinyl, and listening to a vinyl of Neo Geo music from like 30 years ago, it's a trip. It's a trip. So I sat there, and I'm listening to the music, and I'm like, yes, it's nostalgic. Yes, it brings me back to that time. but it's also such an eerie, weird experience because it's on vinyl. You know what I mean? It's not as though you're just sitting on your computer and listening to an MP3. You've made this a moment, and you're like, why is this a moment? Do I love the past so much? And it's like, I'm not trapped in the past by any stretch of the imagination, but boy, I love certain times in video gaming. And this is a time in video gaming I love. The very first time I saw that Fatal Fury 1, I was like, oh my God, there's another Street Fighter style of game. And I went over and played it, and it wasn't, the controls were okay. They were pretty good. 3 levels to jump between. It was a fascinating experience. And the music was fascinating because I'd always hear it. I'd always hear people playing it, and I could always hear it. And so very interesting to revisit Southtown and to hear the music of Fatal Fury 1 again. Here we go, the Nintendo Switch version of RType Final 2. What can be said? It's an excellent shooter. It's on Nintendo Switch, it's on PS4. I had to get the Switch version right here. How is this? I love it. I have the PS4 digital code, which I played, and I really enjoyed that. Challenging game, a lot to unlock there. All the different ships that you can get, it's quite extraordinary. All the different viewing modes, there's a lot of viewing modes in there. This is great for R-Type fans of the original arcade game. There's been a lot of R-Types over the years, and we've reached this point, and I think the graphics are really stellar, it controls really good, and it harkens back to the original series so well. Music is totally fine, it fits the game. An excellent purchase for anybody who likes shooters. And I didn't say shmups, because a lot of people say shmups. Next up is a very, very interesting thing here. I'm just gonna put it down right here. And I had heard about this, and I didn't back the Kickstarter, I didn't get that involved. I just thought, oh, some people are working on a 16-bit fighting game for the Genesis Mega Drive again. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's interesting. And then I kind of forgotten about it. And then GameSack did an episode talking about it, and I was like, oh man, this is really cool. This is such a great episode. I mean, and such a great game. And I thought that was a really interesting thing that Joe did talking about it, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Where something very unusual happened, and very cool, where the art director of the game, who watched the show and likes the show, said, hey, I really want to send you our game. And he's like, not for any reason, you don't have to show on the show or anything like that. He's like, just because I really want you to play it, and we're really proud of the game. And how could I say no to that? Of course I would. And I was like, yes, and his name is Louis Martins. And I hope I did your name correctly there. But I absolutely was blown away when this showed up. And he's the art director, he's the main artist on this game. And so this makes it personal for me now. And so this showed up, and here we go. I haven't even said what the game is. Paparum right here. Fascinating stuff. This is the Investor's Mega Pack. And I just want to say, Louis, thank you so much for sending this over. This is really unexpected, and it comes with a comic book, which I think it looks so cool right here. It comes with an art book. It comes with a keychain as well. And then the real meat and potatoes. The game itself. And wow, and signed as well, which is just so beautiful, and I can't say enough. Like, this is so wild. And the Genesis version. Now, how am I going to play this game? On my Genesis? You know what I was playing with the idea of? Playing on the Nomad and digging up my Nomad. The Nomad used to be here in the show. It's over here now. And, putting this into the Nomad would be a fascinating experience. And it's a crazy looking game. It really is. And it's an absolutely gigantic size game for a Genesis game. I think it's the largest Genesis game ever made. Is that 80 megs? Oh my God, that's crazy. So that's a fascinating thing. The art style looks really good. There's branching paths. There's different endings, good endings, bad endings. And this game had a lot of controversy around it as well that I didn't know until I watched GameStack's episode, and it's really, really funny, and the packaging is really fascinating and stuff like that. So have any of you guys played this game? What are your thoughts on it? And are you enjoying it? Is it living up to your expectations? I think it's a fascinating thing, that's for sure. Now, this next item means a lot to me personally because it was sent by someone I can call a friend. I can call them a friend, and that is from Ernie Klein, who wrote Ready Player One and Ready Player Two. Ernie Klein supports the show. He really enjoys the show, and I'm going to get into a whole bunch of things here. He sent me his book over, and he signed it right in here, and he goes, "To Johnny, thank you for sharing your love of gaming with me and the rest of the world. Rock on, sir. Your fan, Ernest Klein." Hits me right here. It hits me right here. And I'm going to talk about something that I find fascinating, and it's something I live by in my life. And it's this. Put positive energy out there. Put positive energy out there in your life, because sometimes it comes back to you. And that's the unexpected thing. You put positive energy out there just to do it. And if anything does come back to you, that's a bonus, right? It's a bonus. And so my relationship with Ernie Klein is something that I find absolutely fascinating. And we had him on a podcast, oh boy, it must be around 8-9 years ago now, when I was part of the All Gen Gamers, and we brought Ernie Klein on. It was my last episode of doing that podcast. I think I'd done like 86 episodes or something like that. And it was time to move on. And it was such a swan song by bringing on Ernie Klein to talk about Ready Player One, a book that I'm a super huge fan of. Me and my wife sat in the other room here. It used to be the editing room. It's the baby's room now. And I remember sitting on the bed and just listening to Will Wheaton doing the narration on Ready Player One, and that's how we enjoyed that. And it was, oh my God, I think we did about 4 sittings, and we got through the book that way, and it was so cool. And me and Kim are big fans of Ready Player One, and got to see the movie, and I like the movie. I really like the movie. Ernie's vision for the first book is so like fleshed out, and there's so much detail. It's like any book, right? Any book you feel, oh my God, it should be how many parts? It should be a lot. I just feel that Ready Player One would have made an amazing long Netflix season. That would have been awesome to take our time, because in movies nowadays you got to get to the punch right away, and I think they did a great job by taking you in and getting you through all of that. But it's a very, very fast-paced way through it, and that was my only thing about the movie. I thought the movie was good, and I really enjoy my relationship with Ernie. And Ernie, if you're watching this right now, I just want to say thank you so much for the book. I really appreciate it. I definitely am going to read it. I've had a very crazy year. It's been so much going on, where now I really have a lot more time for reading and for taking my time through things. But Ernie, I want to say how much I appreciate our friendship, even if it's via the internet. So thank you. Now we're getting to the end. There's just a few books, some games, and an anime I've been waiting for a very, very long time. Let's start with the books. From Bitmap Books is Game Boy, the Box Art Collection. Listen how heavy that is. Every single Game Boy cover ever. Let me just show you this. I did not think there was this many Game Boy games. I did not think there was. And I was looking through this earlier on, and I'm like, oh my God, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I love Bitmap Books. They create the best video game books I have ever seen. And why do I like them so much? Look at this collection. It is collecting all of the artwork for the box arts for these Game Boy games in one book that I can flip through. And there's all the Japanese games in here, things I have never even seen. And the video gaming world runs deep. It runs even deeper than I can wrap my head around. And I love seeing things like this that make me go, hey, what the heck is this game? What the heck is this game? And that's one thing that I love, these collected works. I also liked Bitmap Books' collection of Super Famicom books. I thought that was really stellar. And just their books in general, their Neo Geo book. I mean, there's never been a Neo Geo book as good as that one that they created. And I really appreciate all of the artwork and just flipping back. I mean, you're flipping back into another time, and this is the time of my youth. I remember sitting there with the Game Boy, with the light on top and the magnifying glass. I'm telling you, anybody with a Nintendo Switch nowadays, you got it made. Back in the day, I was like trying to see my screen and all that. But the one thing I could always say is, look at the artwork. The artwork was stellar. It's so, look like Link's Awakening there. It's so great. So another fantastic book, Game Boy, the Box Art Collections. Now here we go, Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. We have another book, which is only a good thing in the Ravenloft series, to flesh out more of the Ravenloft mystique and lore. And I gotta say, Ravenloft is my favorite module series of all time. I remember it must be nearly 12 years ago I ran a Ravenloft campaign, and it was so much fun to tell a story in that world setting with gypsies and the mist and, you know, Dracula. It was perfect, and I love that kind of gothic horror. And that's what Ravenloft is always about. And this book is excellent, showing even more things that you can do in the Ravenloft world, different places to explore and all of that. And you know, the one thing I hope they do with D&D going forward is box sets, like they used to do in the 80s. I would have loved this in a box set where you get the maps and things like that, and that's the stuff that I really enjoyed. And it come with the different modules. I'm pretty old school that way, but I'm really happy to get anything more on Ravenloft. And you know, the weather's gotten a little bit warmer, but I'm writing a big D&D campaign for Kim. Yeah, just for Kim, because of COVID times and getting people together was not possible. So me and Kim were talking, and I'm like, well, I just want to play D&D, and she's like, well, why don't me and you play it? And I was like, okay, I'll DM. So I'm still writing. I've been writing for a little bit, and it's going to be pretty wild. We're just going to do some evening adventures when we put down our daughter and play D&D with each other, and I thought that'd be a really cool thing to do. Okay, do you know how I just mentioned a box set? Look at this. This is the Green Knight, a fantasy role-playing game. This is based on the new movie that's coming out. And okay, I just have to go back into the past for a second here. I saw this on Twitter. Somebody had posted it, and I was like, whoa, is that a box set? And like, look at the artwork here and stuff like that. I was just like, this reminds me of old D&D days. And I really like that. And I'm like, this is fascinating. Look at the artwork. Sorry, I have to really point that out. It looks awesome. And I guess they made it in collaboration with the new movie. And I haven't seen the movie or anything like that, but I have seen Sword of the Valiant. Do you know what's really weird? I've always known Sword of the Valiant, but I only watched it maybe around 8 months ago for the very first time, and I was like, oh, it's just Sean Connery, it's like 1984, and I'm not going to ruin the story for you because there's a new movie coming out. And so I watched that, and it was the movie feels like it was made in the 70s, even though it was made in 1984. It just seems old. It seems dated in a lot of ways. Some of it really shows its money, and some of it shows how cheap it is in a lot of ways. But anyways, so then I found out that they were releasing a movie based on this old story of the Green Knight, which they made Sword of the Valiant out of. And I was like, oh, cool. And I saw the trailer. I'm like, okay, I'm sold. I'm totally down with the Green Knight movie. And then I found this, and I'm like, is this even related? Did this come out a long time ago because of the module and all that? So, you know, the size of it and the box. But no, this was created in conjunction, but with the love of creating something brand new. It's not D&D, it's its own thing. And I have to go in. I went on YouTube to try to find some tutorials, and they were okay on how to play the game. But I'm just going to read the books myself and kind of go through it. It's like 1 to... How many players is this? I think it's 1 up. So, 3... Oh, damn. Designed for 3 to 6 players. I was thinking I could play with Kim. I guess I can't. I'll wait for COVID restrictions to open up even more. Maybe I can get some friends of mine over to play this. But I had to get this game just because of the box set. I thought it was really cool. Okay. This one is a big deal for me. This one is a huge deal for me. And that is, an anime finally got released. I did my top 10 anime films of all time. I might have done that around 9-10 years ago now. And I was talking about things that I'd never seen anybody talk about online in the way of movies and things, stuff that I had grown up with. stuff that I watched on beta on VHS. And this is one of those movies that I saw back then. I have the art books in the other room as well, and I became obsessed with it. And that is Arion, the Crush of Olympus. This has finally been brought over by Discotek. My history with this is that I always have wanted it to come over here on Blu-ray, even on DVD. It's never got a VHS release in this country, a DVD release, any release. So I played for a while with the idea of bringing it over myself, and I thought maybe I should take some money and bring it over here. But I thought, I don't really know how to do that too well. The intent was there. My intent was I wanted people to see this movie because nobody had ever seen it over here. It never gotten a release. I had subtitled copies from my fan clubs back in like 1988, definitely in 89. That's when I really saw it. And so I was like, man, I want everybody to see this. That was what I wanted, and nobody could until now. So I'm very, very thankful to have this. I went in, I've already watched the first 10 minutes. Kim's like, oh, save this movie. This is like a movie that I definitely want to check out. It's to do with the Greek gods and the son of Hades, and there's so many things going on here. But the animation is absolutely gorgeous. I like the sound. I even have the vinyl soundtrack in the other room as well. I even have the CD soundtracks for, But anyways, it's a beloved movie that I can't say enough that I'm so thrilled has finally been released in this country. And it's really weird. You think to yourself, how are people going to hear about it? And I'm like, I guess I got to talk about it a bit, so people will be able to see it. Other future releases I'm really excited about is Project A-ko is finally coming out. Thank God for that. That's another anime. I'm just dying for it to come out, and I'm looking forward to it for sure. So anyways, guys, I've gone way off track. I've gone into a rant because I'm really excited this movie's finally come out. And so anyways, guys, until next time.